how to return multiple results using VLOOKUP or XLOOKUP, index match, and etc. And then we can compare it with the filter formula, because the filter formula is a more advanced and modern formula in Excel. But anyway, we can do with both VLOOKUP if you have an older Excel version, or with filter if you have a newer Excel version. So based on the product that I choose here, let's say wireless mouse, VLOOKUP can return all the matches for this product. And I'm using here a sales data set with many products, different order IDs, dates, and etc. To get started, make sure you download this Excel file for free. Just click in the link in the description. And I want to start with any sort of lookup formula. Let's say XLOOKUP, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index and match, and etc. And since I don't know what's your Excel version, let's say you are using an older version of Excel, I'm not going to use XLOOKUP. However, the step-by-step is the same, okay? I'm going to focus on VLOOKUP because it's a very simple formula, and it doesn't matter if you have a newer version of Excel or if you have a older version, it's going to work, okay? VLOOKUP. And then, what about the filter function? We are going to use the filter function, however, later on in the video. What I need to do is, from the second data set, from the product I choose, let's say wireless mouse, I want to return the order ID, date, the product name itself, total amount, and region. So how can I return those multiple results? I cannot do it by the normal function itself. I cannot use VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, index match, and etc. to do that because they can't. So what I'm going to do here is I need to create an extra column in Excel. And we can use a column to the left. Of course, we could also use a helper column at the end of the dataset. However, because I'm going to use the VLOOKUP, and VLOOKUP only looks for something that is to the right of the criteria, I need to insert the new column all the way to the left. So let me click on the column A, right click, and then insert. Now let me increase the width of this column, and I'm going to call it helper column. Enter. In this column, I want to create some sort of criteria to help me return the multiple matches. Because let's think about it. If I'm looking for wireless mouse, Excel is going to return only the first appearance. That is this one that I highlight here. But the problem is, there is more products like that, wireless mouse. There is a second one, a third one, a fourth one, and etc, etc, etc. How can I return all those multiple results? With the helper column, I can create some sort of count to count the product itself, and instead of using only the wireless mouse as a criteria, we can use some sort of number. Let's say first wireless mouse, second wireless mouse, third wireless mouse. So we can append a number, because that way we sort of create a different condition. It's not only wireless mouse, it's going to be one wireless mouse, and then two wireless mouse, and so on. And we can do the same in the second spreadsheet. We can create sort of a number here, a rank, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and that way we can return all the results in the first row, in the second, in the third, and so on. So let me go back to the first sheet, and here what I can do is a count if formula, equal sign, count. I'm going to keep with the count ifs because I think it's easier to set up. Let me double click here, 1, 2, criteria range. The criteria range can be, let's say, the entire column D. No, it cannot, because I'm going to show you, if you select the entire column D, comma, and use as criteria the first product, and then hit enter, Excel is going to return the total count for this product. But I don't want to return the total counting for this product. I want to progressively count the product. So here is going to be number 1. And if this product appear again, let's say maybe right here, it's going to return the second appearance, and so on. So we need to expand the range as the formula goes down. So to do that, let me get rid of the formula that I did. And again, equal sign, count ifs, I'm going to build something slightly different. Double click 1, 2. The change is going to be in the range. So I can select the first cell, that's it. However, I need to select a range, not just only a single cell. So let me press colon. When I hit colon, Excel duplicate the same cell. Now we have a range. However, the difference is I'm going to select the first cell, only the first cell, click, hold, and drag to select only the first portion. And then you can hit the F4 key, okay? Because we can lock this reference. And we always going to keep with this reference. However, the second one is going to change. Let's say D2, D3, D4, D5. So the range is going to grow. However, maintain the first cell as the base. So we are going to grow the range as the formula goes down. We can continue the formula. Let me hit comma. And the criteria is going to be the product itself. We done. Let me close parentheses and then hit enter. Now we have 1 as a result. But why is that? Because in this range that we created, the first product appears only 1 time. And if I drag the formula down, let's see what's going to happen. Click, hold, and drag. Okay, we already can see the difference. Let's say here, wireless mouse, it's only appear once in this range of the reference of this row, 1, 2, to open the formula. See, wireless mouse appears only once in this range. However, if we move down, let's say right here, 1, 2, the wireless mouse appears now 1, 2, and 3 times. So this is why it was very important to create a dynamic range that grows as the formula goes down. But I need to do a append in this formula. I need to append the name of the product to the counting. How can I do that? Click in the first formula, 1, 2, to open the formula. And after the last parenthesis, we can use the ampersand symbol and click on the cell where we have the first product. Because that way, when you hit enter, Excel is going to append the counting with the product name. Now we can click at the handle, click, hold, and drag all the way to the bottom of the dataset. Now we have the count for all the different products, for all the rows. So this is how the helper column can help us. And if we go back to the sheet number 2, jump here on the countings, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Maybe we can go up to 10. Okay, let me reduce the width of this column. Let me input a hash sign here, just to, as we know, it's a numerical column. The first thing I want to return is going to be the order ID, and maybe we can return the date, and maybe the product name itself. Of course, we could also return other columns, such as the value or total amount, and etc. Now we can use a very simple formula that is the VLOOKUP, but we need to pay attention because we need to couple 2 cells, 2 criteria. That is going to be the number with the product name. And to do that, we can go with equals and then VLOOKUP, for example, double click, 1, 2. And if you want to use a different formula, such as XLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, index and match, the process is going to be the same. The only difference is the formula itself. Instead of use VLOOKUP, you can use X and etc. And the lookup value is going to work as I'm going to show you here. So select first the number and then ampersand the product. Basically, we are doing the same sequence we did before. Number coupled with the product name. However, something very important here. I don't want the product moves down as the formula goes down. So I need to lock this reference using the F4 key to input the $sign. Comma. Now let's go with the table array. What is the table array that I want to look for? The table array is here on the first sheet. I can select starting with the first column, the column A, the helper column. This is very important, okay? And it's even more important because we are using VLOOKUP, and VLOOKUP looks for something that is from the left to the right. Okay, so we have a column. VLOOKUP is only going to look up to the right of this column. Let me select column A and then B, C, D, basically all the columns that I want to return as a result. maybe until column J. That's it. Comma. Now VLOOKUP is going to ask about the column index number. And as I want to return the order ID, I have as the first column the helper, and then the column B is going to be the second one where I have the order ID. So I want to use the number 2 as result, comma, and I want to have an exact match. 1, 2 to select and then hit enter. Okay, Excel perfectly returns the first result. However, is it going to work to all the other results? Let's check. Let me click on the handle, click, hold, and drag down. Yeah, that's it. And why did we get an error here in the rows 8, 9, and 10? Because probably we don't have those matches, 8, 9, and 10, in the data set. Wireless mouse only goes up to 7 different results. That's why. So it's working, guys. And if I change the product name to other ones, let's say USB keyboard, it's going to automatically update. And USB keyboard has a lot of results. We can keep extending the count if you want. Now let's move on to the date. The date, if I'm not wrong, is going to be the column number 3 in the data set. So let me go to the previous formula, double click to select and open everything. Click, hold, and drag all the way through the formula. Right click, copy. You can press escape, go to date, Control V to paste everything. However, now you can change. Double click in the formula. Instead of number 2, maybe we can go to number 3, enter to have the date. And we can also format the date as a short date. Click, hold, and drag all the way down, and that's it. Anytime I change the product, as you guys can see right here, Excel is going to automatically update the result. Now let's move on to a more modern solution that is using the filter formula. And it's going to surprise you because we don't need to do any of those extra columns and extra work. Let me show you here. Let's say from this product right here, I want to return exactly the same columns as before. However, this time I'm going to use the filter function. Equal sign, filter. Let me double click in this formula, 1, 2. What is going to be the array? The array are the range, the columns, the rows that I want to return as result. And in this case, I want to return all those columns. I'm going to start with the order ID and then the date, because in between the date and product name, there is other columns. So I cannot select everything at once. So let me stick with those 2 columns first, order ID and date as the array. Let me go back to the first sheet and I'm going to select the entire column B and C. And then I can use comma to move on to the second condition. Let me click on the filter. I want to include those results on column B and C every time that column D is equal to the sheet 2, this cell right here, USB keyboard. So every time filter finds USB keyboard in any row, it's going to return both column B and C. Let me click enter, and that's it. Now we have exactly the same result. Only the format is not properly correct. So let me change all those cells to short date. And that's it, guys. We have exactly the same result as before. However, using only one single formula, filter, and that's it. We have right here the order ID and the date. And for the product name and for the amount, it's very easy to do. We just need to change the position of the columns that we want to return. Equal sign, filter, double click, 1, 2. Array is going to be this time the product name, column D, for example, comma, and I want to include every time that the product itself is equal to the product we are looking for. And then enter. And finally, amount, equal sign, filter, double click, array is going to be the amount, total amount, comma, and we want to include this column every time that the column where we have the products is equal to the product we have up here. Enter, and we're done. So every time I change here the product name, look what's going to happen with both of the tables that we did. Both are going to update. However, the benefit of to use filter, it's much easier, faster, and we don't get these errors that we usually have in a VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, index match formulas in Excel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video on how can we have multiple results using a lookup formula. If you have any questions or any suggestions to the next videos, let me know, comment down below, and I see you in the next one.